Hi, I'm George Dimitroff and I'm Head of Valuations for Ascend by Cirium. Ascend by Cirium and its predecessors under several different names have been appraising aircraft since 1965, so we've been in the business for quite a long time, and I think one of the benefits of having such a long track record of valuations is that we have a lot of historical data. In fact, for most aircraft types today, we have historical values data going back to birth, so back to the day that the first aircraft of that type entered service. This comprehensive set of historical data is really useful when it comes to forecasting future values. Of course, as your financial advisor will tell you, historical values or historical performance in itself is not a sole indicator of what future performance may be, and that's where our other data sets and expertise come in. However, before we jump to future values, let's talk a little bit about how we do our current market values. We believe that in order to get an accurate valuation, you need to capture as many data points as possible of comparable market transactions where they exist. And this is where our global team comes in really handy. We have offices in the Asia Pacific region, in Europe, and in the Americas. So we're able to capture a very diverse set of data points. In fact, last year we captured over 1,600 lines of data. Now, not all of these data points were sales transactions. Some of them were leases, some of them were maintenance costs, some of them might have been interior refurbishment costs, but they were all inputs that help directly or indirectly to determine an aircraft's value. If we look purely at sales transactions out of that big data set, we captured roughly 15% of all the aircraft that were actually sold in the market, or we captured an approximate sale price for 15% of those aircraft. It may seem like a small number, but it's actually, considering the number of aircraft that are being traded annually, it's quite a good sample size. And this year we're actually on track to capture a similar, if not greater, number of data points year to date. So having all of this data is great, but the next question is, what do we do with it? We have established a very thorough process for reviewing aircraft values, and so we have something that we call the Value Review Board. It's more than one. We have a Value Review Board for commercial aircraft, we have a Value Review Board for business jets, for helicopters, and also for engines. These Value Review Boards go through a list of aircraft types. So at the beginning of the year, we create a schedule of all the aircraft types that need to have their value reviewed. Aircraft types that are more critical in the market, that have bigger populations and that have a much higher number of investors involved with them, get reviewed quarterly, aircraft like the 737 and the A320. Other less important types like a Saab 340 might only get reviewed twice a year, and completely niche types might only get reviewed once a year. But every aircraft type gets reviewed regularly, and that's the scheduled review. In addition to the scheduled review, we also have ad hoc reviews. If information comes in from our market intelligence that says that an aircraft type has traded at a point that's considerably above or considerably below our market value, we will bring it onto the next Value Review Board and have it reviewed. And these Value Review Boards are held bi-weekly for commercial aircraft. The key thing about these Value Review Boards is that it's not just me, it's not just a single person making all the decisions, and this is where we really have an advantage over an appraiser who may be working on their own independently. We discuss, we debate, and we very often disagree about value changes. So the way it works is an individual will put forward a value change proposal, and then we debate that, and we only pass it through if we have some sort of consensus among us as to what the value change should be, which I think gives us accountability, and it allows different points of view from different experts to be considered. When it comes to future values, we also have a pretty thorough process. We look at all the historical data points that we have of how aircraft have depreciated in the past. We take into account their depreciation against age, time, position in the production cycle, and we do a regression analysis to come up with curves that show the typical depreciation profile for the typical aircraft. However, that is only backward looking. We then take into account what happens in the future with things such as GDP growth, oil price growth, even new things that we're introducing such as potential emissions trading or emission charges or other changes in regulation. We also take into account things that we know about that are expected to come in the future, such as big fleet rollovers that may result in values being different from the past. We also carry out regular forecast accuracy analysis on our forecasts to check whether we've been right or wrong, or how far we've been off. And we then use the results of those analyses to try and improve our forecasts going forward. That's it in a nutshell. I've only got 4 minutes, but if you want to find out more, please do contact one of us in the team, and we'd be happy to give you a much longer session and explain in great detail how we do. One of the things we pride ourselves in is we try to be fully transparent about our process and methodology, so we're more than happy to share with you.